We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport. Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We're so excited you guys have joined us today because we have an awesome show. We're joined from across the world, Rick, by Padraig McCarthy, the silver medalist from the Tryon World Championships. So he's going to come in and talk to us about all kinds of really good stuff about horsemanship and where the sport's heading and going. And that's going to be a really great interview. And then we also have the newest about to be team member, Ariel Grald. We're super excited to have her on. She is going to join us here in the last segment so we can get an update from Ariel and see where she's at and how things are going and her preparations for the World Championships. So, Rick, you guys just got back from River Glen. How was River Glen? I haven't been up there in a while. It's such a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. It is very beautiful. I mean, Lisa had a jam up go. She took 3 horses and was first with, oh my God.
You're fine. Just keep talking and fix your video. We're having some technical issues here, but we're going to do great. You're just going to hit the little button and get that going again. And you're back. Keep going.
So we were there and Elisa did really well. She was 6th in the 3-star with the Rincon Corsair. She was first with Sharp Decision.
Don't stop. Show you're a pro.
With Sharp Decision, and second with the Telemurray Fifi, who did really well in the 2-star as well. First and second. Briggs went in the 3-star with the Booming Boudron, and he had an unfortunate. The horse jumped in. It's supposed to be 1 stride out of the coffin, and he.
Hold on, Rick. Did you put your hand over the microphone or something?
Probably. How's that?
There you go. That's better. Now you're good. Keep going.
And so I had a glance off and came back around, finished around fine. And then I was doing really good on my horse. He was in 2nd place after show jump, Ingemar, and he stepped on a shoe. It was very wet going. He stepped on a shoe right before the coffin. I didn't know what happened. He jumps through coffins. He's great. He came back around, jumped it. I didn't know about the shoe, got to the finish flags, and he pulled another one right off over the finish flags. And literally stepped on the poor thing. He was super. I'm really proud of him. River Glen did a good job of keeping the water away. I mean, the footing was good.
Right.
Had a lot of rain. And, I've been showing there since 1987. So, River Glen was a history for me, and it was fun to be back. It was good. They did a good job.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've been there a lot. That's sometimes I go there and I think they're like, oh God, here comes John again. But it is a beautiful piece of property. I always enjoy going there, and it's a really fun part of the country to go visit. Like, it is everything you think about being in the South and being in Tennessee.
Sure.
And I mean this in a good way, like banjos and moonshine and yeehaw. It's pretty cool. It's fun to go visit.
I love that you said banjos.
Banjo. I just picture a guy out there
it's super.
John Denver doing his thing. I know John Denver is West Virginia, but still.
Right. The owners there are really great. I think, a little updating of jumps and stuff like that. Kathy Wieshkoff was a course designer. John Williams was the TD. I mean, we had a good time, and,
right.
all things considered, you take that experience and move on.
Right. Yep. Well, good. I'm glad everybody got home safe and sound and ready for the next one. So we do have a couple teams here that are going to be important to our North American listeners and viewers. So the team for the U.S. has been named. I'll just run through it here real quick and then we can talk about it. So we got Boyd Martin on Sesterleg, got Lauren Nicholson with Vermiculus, Tammy Smith with My Bomb. We've got Ariel Grald with Leomore Master Plan, who, like I said, will be on here shortly, and Will Coleman with Off the Record. And then the Traveling Reserve, which I think is going to be an interesting dynamic, is Philip Dutton on Z. And that was the first thing that sort of jumped up at me when I saw the list was that is a real serious veteran there as a backup. So obviously we hope those first 5 all stay sound and going well and that they all stay in their spots. But if Philip does need to step in, you feel pretty confident with your backup horse and rider.
Yeah, I agree with you. Interestingly enough, about River Glen, which I did not mention, is Will Coleman was there.
Oh, how'd he go?
I saw him. He wasn't there with the two that are listed for the World Championships, which he's got a backup for himself with the Chin Tonic horse.
No, it's not Chintonic, is it?
Chin Tonic's a backup horse. Yeah.
I don't think so. No,
It's not.
No, it's so Off the Record is the team horse, and Don Dante is the.
Oh, sorry. Then he was there with a backup horse. Don Dante was there, and he ran the intermediate with it. So sorry about that. Bad me. I should have grabbed some video clips because I didn't know that was the backup horse. So there you go.
I've sent you out to get B-roll before. I've given up on you with that.
Well, that's not fair. Let's be fair.
Okay.
Anyway,
Rick's about to explode. He's been on the phone all day in meetings, and I could tell his sense of humor is about that big right now.
Yeah, I can tell everybody it's with the IRS. We don't love the IRS, and that's who it's been with. But Will was there. It was funny. He was his first trip to River Glen, and Will being Will. He was there doing his own thing, which he does. That's why he made the team, right? He's got his own program. He's putting it all together. But he looked at me and said, "Well, Rick, I'm in Florida all summer now, and there's not that many places to go. So I came to River Glen." I was like, "Well, there you go. We got great footing." So he was there. It was cool seeing him. And good luck to Will on that. So, that's our team.
Right. And so then the Canadians named their team. So their team here for the World Championships is Holly Awad with Jolly Bow, Holly Jacks on Candy King, Colleen Loach on Vermont, Carl Slesak with Fernhill Wishes, and Michael Winter with El Mundo. And then the non-traveling reserves are Dana Cook with Effie Mississippi, who we just had on, and Lisa Marie Ferguson with Honor Me. Obviously, we also just had Mike Winter on. And one thing that's interesting with this team, Rick, which I'm not sure if you're aware or not, is Holly Jackson's horse, Candy King. She actually bought through Mike Winter. He was an agent on that horse, and he does a great job agenting horses. So I'm excited for Canada too. Obviously, I have we both do with your son-in-law have a bit of a tie to Canada.
Sure.
So I'm excited for the Canadians. They've got a nice, good-looking squad there too. They should be able to get their Olympic qualification, finish a team, and move on to the next.
So I've got a question about the Canadian team. So you mentioned more than 5, right? Is that correct?
Or there's 5 on the team and then 2 non-traveling reserves.
So my question then, this is a question that I'm having Dana, right? On our show. She's in England, pretty close to Italy. Why wouldn't they make her a traveling reserve and go that route, since she's already over there?
Well, I can't speak to the Canadian team because I don't have any insight at all.
Right.
My guess, knowing some history with the team, is they don't have the funds to send another horse even from England to Italy. Yeah.
Right.
So they probably have funds for 5 horses. They're sending 5 horses. That'd be my guess.
I got you. Well, good point. Well done.
All money.
And in talking about the Canadian team, I think it's a strong team, like you said. I do know, there's some riders aren't always going to be happy, right?
Yep.
And I think in looking
I'm never happy
at Canada and the team, is Canada, the World Championships, everybody listening and watching, it's different than the Olympics. We don't have the format that the new format that the Olympics has. This is actually back on the four-man woman team with an individual riding at the championships, correct?
Yeah.
Is our level 5-star at the World Championships?
Yes.
So I guess in listening to, the team, I don't think there's a lot of 5-star experience or qualifications with the 5-stars on our team.
Are we talking Canada or American?
Canada.
Right.
So looking like Lisa, let's look at Lisa Marie, right? That horse has gone around a lot of 5-star tracks, and she's an alternate. What is your input on something like that? Look, he's not the best dressage horse, but he does get in the top 20 at Kentucky several years in a row.
I think, you have to decide what you want to do as a team.
Right.
So the way that's been explained to me, and I've never been a selector, even when I did Young Riders, I was a coach. I was not I guess I was a selector once, but the way you do it is you have to look at what's their finishing score going to be. So you look at a horse like Honor Me, who obviously is just a machine cross country. The problem I would think, and I've not done the math on this, but I would think you'd look at a horse like that and you would look at what is his finishing score going to be. It's probably somewhere in the 60s would be my guess. That maybe is wrong. But it would be a significantly high finishing score. So I think what they've done from just looking at this is they've a little bit rolled the dice. They've said, great. So Lisa Marie is going to be a sure thing. She's going to jump clear, and that's great. But because of the dressage is what it is, and the time probably is going to be what it is, they know where that horse is going to finish. It has a proven track record. So they're going to roll the dice on these other guys, right or wrong, I would assume, and say, we think, we can get these 3 of these 4 to finish on a better mark and have a better chance at a good finish. It's basically, it comes down to math. You look at the math, you look at where these guys are going to finish, and then you say, right,
Well,
so how do we think they're going to do it?
And I hear that, and the discussion, and look, I'm not saying it's wrong or right. All I'm saying is, to your point, you're rolling the dice on that, but how important the world championships are for Canada, for the US, get a qualification for the Olympics, and having a sure thing, number one. Then you have 3 others that, the 4 that are going, you got to have 3 complete, right? 3
yeah,
complete.
but what one thing that I don't know is, where do they need to finish as a team to get their Olympic qualifiers? I don't think it's just finish a team, you get to go. I think they have to finish in a certain placing. They have to finish well. And we could look into that and have that information for the next show, but
Sure.
I think they have to finish well. So at least reasonably well. So I don't think it's just like, oh, if we just finish the team, we get to go. They've got to go and do a good job. And so honestly, I look at this and I think it's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that it's a good team. I'm just trying to get into the logistical. I get the mathematical side. It all just comes down to me of a sure thing, I guess.
Yeah, but I think it's also just again, it's being a selector is a pretty thankless job for sure. I think you also have to look at it and say, which of these horses are trending up and which of these horses are not trending up. And they've obviously decided that they think of those 5, those are the 5 that are trending up. Dana obviously would be probably one of the less experienced horse rider combinations on this team. So that isn't a shock. I was hoping she'd
No,
there, but it's not a shock.
I was there with it. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's always interesting. And if this goes well for Canada, people are going to say those selectors are geniuses. And if it doesn't, they're going to say, you should have put Lisa Marie or Dana Cook on the team. What were you thinking? So I'm going to go on the record and say that I'm going to do either of those.
I think that's any country, right? I mean, It all comes down to, we don't have a crystal ball.
Exactly. So listen, we got to get to break here, Rick. And then we're going to come back and we're going to be joined by the Irish silver medalist from the World Championships, Padraig McCarthy. So let's go check that out. Check out these messages and we'll be right back with our Stress Less segment. Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622
or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
I'm Gabby Ruane and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants their horse more focused and rideable overall.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We're here in our Stress Less segment, so huge thank you to Stress Less. It's an amazing supplement that helps get your horses focused and ready to go on the job for your training. And we are very excited because we are now joined by the one and only Padraig McCarthy. For those of you who are here in America, I'm sure that you all know of him, but just as a little brief synopsis here, sort of his big accomplishments that you guys probably remember is here in America in 2018. He was actually the individual and team silver medalist, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. Congratulations.
Wow, that's great.
And you actually just got back from what, Bergam, right?
Bergam, yeah, in the north of England.
See, I said it again. I said it like an American. Up in Scotland, and you had a great performance there. So why don't we start there, Padraig? Just tell us a little bit about your weekend and your horses and how things went.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for having me on the show. So I was in Bergam with 5 horses. I had 2 in the 4-star. The 2 badminton horses were having their first international run again since the springtime. No, sorry, I just had the 1 from badminton, the mare Falula. And she had a very good run. She was 4th after dressage and was double clear with a couple of time penalties, and she finished 8th. So I was very pleased with her. The jumping is something that we've been struggling with for a long time. And we jumped a clear round, and that was very pleasing. So she's going to go to Blair for the 4-star short at the end of August. And from there, she'll go to Blenheim for the 4-star long.
Awesome.
I had a couple in the 3-star were double clear, and a couple of young horses in the 2-star that did a good job. So it was a good weekend. It's a great event. Ground was very good, and it was it was always good to go back there, even though it is a 9.5-hour drive. So it's quite a long way for us.
Yeah, that's like a 30-hour drive here in America. Is about the equivalent of how it feels.
Yeah.
So that was with Falula, and then you also have your other badminton horse, HHS Noble Call. So how's he going? What's the plan with him?
So he's going to do the British Open in Gatcombe next weekend. He's not as good on the flat. He's an amazing cross-country horse. So Gatcombe is traditionally quite difficult in the cross-country, and it would be seen as a good preparation run from the terrain point of view for Burley. So that will be his aim. He will go from there directly to Burley. Or maybe he does Blair as well. I'm not sure. My wife makes the plans. I get it.
Mine too.
Yeah. So I think he's definitely doing Gatcombe next week. And I think probably the 4-star short again in Blair, or maybe not. Maybe that's too close to Burley. I really don't know, but he's doing Burley. That's the main aim for the rest of the year.
Got it. So the plan is Burley. And so I thought that was a little bit interesting. Hopefully we can get into it because you were saying when we were sort of getting ready for the show here, that was your plan. These horses are going to go to Blenheim for the mare and Burley for the gelding.
That's right.
And you're not going to be trying for the world championship squad. So is there a reason for that?
Well, not really. I think when I bought the grey horse, the Noble Call horse, that was always my intention I said to the owners when we purchased him that I think this is a horse for Burley. I've never actually ridden Burley myself. He's probably the best cross-country horse I've ever sat on. So I'm really looking forward to taking him there. The mare Falula, even though she jumped clear at the weekend just gone, she has fallen down in the show jumping before, and I personally didn't really want to go not being confident that she could do the job on the last day. I think we've changed the system around recently, and I think we've made real progress in the jumping, but for now we had our sights set on Blenheim. But I haven't been in touch with the team selectors. I don't know what they're thinking either, but we have to make our own plans regardless of what's going on in the team selection point of view. So that's the aim for her.
Got it. Well, I mean, Blenheim and Burley sound like they'd be pretty fun anyway. So those are great goals for sure.
Great events, yeah.
Rick, do you have anything?
Yeah. Hey,
I know looking back and seeing what has brought you up to the ranks. I know 2016 wasn't real fun in Rio. I mean, can you tell us about your experiences there? I know just from us watching in the Americans and what was going on, I think it was a lot harder course than everybody thought it was going to be. Can you give us your experience over there and what you felt was going on?
Yeah, you're right. I think the course was much more difficult than anybody had anticipated. I was really quite novice at the sport at that point. I think I'd started my first season in 2013, so it was really my third season eventing. And I got Simon, who my wife used to ride, and was shortlisted for the London Olympics. And he was getting to the final stage in his career at that point. But we had a very good run into the 2014, 2015. He did the Europeans, and he didn't go well there either. He was unlucky. And we always felt, or the feeling up until that point was that the Olympic Games are not so strong in the cross country because it has to accommodate for all the weaker nations as well. But it was certainly a very, very serious track, which we found out when we got there. So it was always going to be difficult. When I walked the course there, I thought, this is much more difficult than I had anticipated. I don't know if you remember, there was big brush corners kind of offset at fence 5 or 6.
Oh yeah.
And he was very honest, but he didn't have the biggest scope, and he hit the brush on the second one, and he kind of gave up a little bit on me after that. And after that, we were really struggling, so it was a real pity not to. I think we had like a lot of countries had a tough enough day at cross country. So it wasn't what I'd have wished for, certainly, but we went, and I think any experience, good or bad, is you can take something from it and put in your toolkit and use the next time. And it was certainly a steep learning curve for me as well.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to bring back a bad memory, but I definitely, to your point, is getting that experience and building on it, and I know a lot of us, I know Lauren Nicholson is one who was there and just had, real hopes for that, and, got caught on the course. And I think Clark Montgomery did.
Exactly.
I think we all experienced what, from here, we experienced what y'all were feeling once you got there, when it was happening.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So good job to get home and get the experience and move on.
Exactly. And for me, it's good or bad. I mean, I don't look at it like that. I'm very good at kind of shelving the negative part of any lesson and just taking what I can from it. And the rest, I've kind of become very good at parking, because it doesn't serve you any good if you carry the bad mistakes or the bad experiences forward. There's always something that you can learn from it. And the rest, I have a great habit of just forgetting. If I forget a test, or if I do something that I shouldn't be doing, somebody might point it out a month later, and I said, I didn't do that. I've no recollection.
Well, and to that point, Padraig, you obviously did that because 2 years later you go to the World Championships and have an amazing run around at Tryon, come back with 2 silver medals. So that had to be a real different feeling coming out of that. Yeah.
That was a very different feeling, and he was a very different horse. That horse my wife had produced him all the way. He was 6 years old when I arrived here, and she had said at that point that it was the best horse she'd ever sat on. He was bred very locally to us by Jumbo out of a thoroughbred mare. And due to, family situations with Lucy's dad passing away and our first child being born, Lucy kind of stood back, and I got the opportunity to ride the horse. But the horse was a really, really different class to anything that I've ever ridden before or since. And, he had a great year that year. He went to badminton and he was in the top 10, and he went to Campfire before the World Championships and won the 4-star there. So we went with real momentum, and we just followed it through. I mean, it was amazing, and very fortunate on the last day that he moved up from 7th to 2nd with his clear round of the show jumping. But he was a really, really terrific horse. It's just sad that he didn't, he didn't stay physically sound enough to do the job for a couple of years longer, because he wasn't an old horse when he retired from eventing. But I feel very fortunate that I even got the chance to have a horse like that, because many people never do,
Yeah, for sure. And that's no slouch of a track there at Tryon that year. It was tough enough, that's for sure. So well done you. So we've just got, we're just about done with this segment here, but I just want, as a little bit of a tease for everybody coming up here, we've actually had some conversations, a little bit sort of online with some messaging stuff about the sport and the direction that it's heading. Sort of and I think, and you can tell me if I'm misremembering the conversations that we had, but it was a bit about the direction of the sport and the strength of the cross country and what riders are doing, how they're sort of approaching the cross country phase, and then how some of the new fence design, course design, and even some of the safety things that are involved, how that might be negatively affecting cross country and eventing.
That's right. I think at this particular moment in time, it feels that the sport is really looking at itself. I think due to many factors, and that's one of them is the pressure from outside to create good pictures in sports. But the other side is, and it happens always when there's some tragedies or some accidents in the sport, that we look at always trying to make things safer. And that's really something that we have to strive for. But I think there's also a danger in some of our well-meaning and things that we actually create other problems, or we don't embrace actually what's great about the sport as well. And it is a risky sport, and that's part of the attraction. I suppose that the real difficulty in the balancing act is to keep the risk and to try and at the same point make it socially acceptable and I guess to an acceptable level of risk that people want to do it, but there seems to be many facets of people. After the springtime, there was maybe a lot of focus on course designing, but it isn't just that simple. There's a lot of things. There's always the element of risk that there is going to be accidents. I think it's a good point. Let's do this, Padraig, because I think this is going to be a great conversation. Let's take a break just to check in with a couple of our sponsors, and then when we come back, I want to get into that because I think it's a really important conversation to have. So Thank you to Stress Less for sponsoring this segment. We really appreciate it. Make sure all you guys go out there and try it out. If you got a horse that gets a little bit lack of focus, it is a great calming supplement and a focusing supplement and doesn't make them dull. So check it out, and we will be right back with Padraig McCarthy.
I'm Gabby Ruane, and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments, but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants to.
Hi, my name's Leslie Law, and we are a proud supporter of Jump for Joy. We've been using their portable cross-country jumps now for about 10 to 15 years. We love these jumps because, as you can see, they're very easy to move, and we don't need to take another person on the other side, and I could place this fence wherever I wanted to very easily.
Rick Wallace here, bringing you Equibrew, a live probiotic that is geared to help your horse's gut health. I'm a true believer in this Equibrew, and it really makes a difference in all of my horses. Equibrew is safe, non-toxic, and clean sport compliant for FEI and racing events. Equibrew is an intact fermentation product with very high numbers of beneficial microbes. Order at equibrew.com or 850-879-2649. Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are still joined by Padraig from Ireland, and we are sitting here with John Halling, and I believe we're going to get into a little bit of what's going on with our sport and safety and how we feel about it. Padraig, how do you feel about what's going on at this point in time, and how do you think we need to progress as we go into the future?
I don't have all the answers, that's for sure. But there seems to be different conversations going on depending on who you talk to. There's a lot of people, particularly in this country, that are really, outspoken that we have to keep the badminton and the Burleys, like they are, like really not for everybody, that it is a pinnacle of the sport, and it's the epitome of the challenge in our sport. And it must stay elite. And I guess if you keep this the way it is, it's a bit like, what Formula One is to racing. There is risk in it. It's what everybody wants to see. If you take Formula One out of racing, is there going to be as many people interested in the sport? And the answer is probably no. And the same is true of our sport. I was walking the course on Saturday or Sunday morning quickly in badminton before I got on my first horse, and I was near the water jump, and I just heard people saying, "I hope we see some people fall off today." And I guess that's why you see thousands of people around the lake in badminton. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think anybody enjoys seeing horses falling over or rolling on the ground. Nobody wants to see that. It's not good for the sport. And I said, we have a social license to uphold to a degree. And there's a lot of people who don't understand the sport to still follow from the outside. And if they see something like that, it creates, bad image for the sport. And now with social media and everything, you can end up very quickly with a lot of negativity. And that's not something that we want, At the same point, as a rider, and I know that's true for many of the top riders here, getting out on a big cross-country day like badminton or Burley on a good horse is an absolute privilege that we absolutely live for. That we get up early in the mornings in December and January to make sure our horses are fit enough. Riding those courses is not like riding a normal 4-star, because, okay, you walk the course and you make your plan. But when you get out there, you have to rely so much on your instinct and on your feel and what's happening with your horse. And we just don't really get that at the levels below. And I think that's something I would really fight really hard to keep. I think on the continent, we see already a much different type of 5-star than we do in England. And it has its place for sure. Like the Lumulin and Pose of the world, they are good 5-stars, but they're different. The different terrain, it's a different question, suits a different type of horse. So how we go forward, I don't know, but I definitely think that we need to maintain what we have and think carefully about how we go forward with all of the different aspects that people are talking about now, risk and safety and awareness of the greater public as well. But I think, and I don't know what you guys think, but I think there's a large part of it, or what we need to do is to try and carefully translate our sport to the outside world and explain to it what we're doing, but hold fast on the point that it is a high risk sport, and we can never eliminate fully that inherent risk.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you hit the nail on the head with the social media. It's hard to get ahead of something when it's already taken off in full blast, with social media, writing back in the 80s and 90s, and, stuff was encapsulated a little bit, in which, things could be worked out. Not that it can't be worked out now, nor, the safety issues back there, I think, existed as well. It's just we didn't know as much about them.
Yes.
So moving forward, I think you're right. I think Burley and badminton are definitely the elite 5-stars. And I think John's probably going to talk and pipe in a bit about, NERs and what it is for qualifications. I know there's been a big talk about that in the United States. And, I think it all comes down to your point, accidents happen. I mean, you can be out schooling cross country and have something happen that was, a fatality, and that's just awful, but they do happen. And it's not just at the high caliber events, they happen all across the board. I mean, you can get in your car every day and drive down the road and get in an accident at a 4-way stop. And it's inherently more risky to drive than it is to ride a horse. So, we have to look at all those things. John?
Yeah, Padraig, actually, I wanted to just ask you about this. So I've always had a feeling that we as a sport have allowed too much of trying to please everybody in the world and sell ourselves and sell our sport to everybody to influence what we are. So I guess my question to you, maybe isn't even a question, but a conversation is, I wonder, how important is it that the Olympics happen for us? Because while it's obviously important for us as individuals. For the sport, I always feel like, and I posted this on, funny, I posted on Facebook the other day and raised a bit of a firestorm, but we have a competition that happens once every 4 years that now 3 people from every country get to go to, that are qualified. That seems to intentionally or unintentionally really have affected what our sport is. And I sometimes feel like, and I don't have the answers either, but I sometimes feel like if we try to sell our sport to everyone, to the world, and quite honestly, to a world competition like the Olympics that really doesn't kind of want eventing, it seems like sometimes they want a version of eventing, but not eventing. If we try to sell it to everybody, I worry that then that changes what the sport is. And then you're right, then you're fighting just to keep the Burleys and badmintons out there. And they actually become the strange competition, right? It shouldn't be that the Burleys and badmintons are the strange competition. That should be the standard, for sure, the toughest. But I feel like, to me, part of the problem is that everything that we do up to those competitions is more along the lines of what you would find to get you to a championships like the Olympic Games. And then you have Burley and badminton that are this giant monster compared to what you had been doing. So that was kind of my thoughts. I mean, am I way off on that?
No, I think you're 100% right. And like, my situation is here, we're obviously buying and selling horses. We're breeding a lot of horses. And for me, it's been clear for a number of years that there are different types of horses now for the sport, and everybody seeks a different horse. The horse that I'm taking to Burley, when I saw him for the first time, I said, this is a horse for Burley. And it was very clear to me that he was never going to be a championship type horse, just by nature of the animal that he was. I don't know if that's clear to everybody. I think for the professionals, for sure, but I think we have, and I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, that we have different strata of the sport. I think we have to be clear that everybody wants to go to an Olympics. So I don't think we need to step back from it to save our sport, but it's just something different. I think and it's a little bit the same in show jumping. The strange thing about an Olympics is that you would expect, like in athletics or in most other sports, that the Olympics is the very, very pinnacle, very elite, and the very top of the sport. That's not really necessarily the case now in eventing or in horse sport in general, because of the need or the desire to have more flags and more representation from different countries. And with our sport, as you know, it kind of, we have America where it's very strong, and Northern Europe. But if you want to have all the flags from around the world, they just don't have the strength yet, or maybe they never will, to be at the same level that we are at here. That very few of those smaller countries would be able to participate in the 5-star. So yes, it maybe is a strange thing that the Olympics are not as tough or as high quality as the 5-stars that we have around the world. But I think it is what it is. I think everybody wants to try and have a chance to do it, but I think we just need to be clear that it's not the same. So yeah. I mean, I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but I think there's definitely, in my mind anyway, there's a championship horse, which is basically now for eventing, a show jumper that is nice and light. But a true event horse, in my opinion, and I'm always trying to breed good event horses, has to have, and there's always exceptions, don't get me wrong, but if you want to try and breed an event horse, to jump the top sport, you need blood. Now, this is the point that gets everybody heated up. And I have also my 5-star mare Falula, who was inside the time at Poe, jumped around Badminton Clear, has 19% thoroughbred. But you shouldn't look at the exceptions as the rule, or take it as a norm, you know. Of course, an athletic horse is an athletic horse, but as a breeder, when I try to breed an event horse, I use thoroughbred blood, you know, whether it comes from the mare or from the father. It's just when it comes right, and you have blood and you have athleticism and you have jump in the same horse, then you have a really special one. And that's what Mr. Chunky was. He was out of a mare that raced, and he was by a draft that jumped very well. He had 70% thoroughbred. And I've done some research on it, like, and the statistics don't lie. When you look even at Olympics over the last 10 cycles, take out Tokyo, which was a special case anyway because it was shorter. But if you take the last 10 Olympics, they were all, 9 of them were won by a horse that was by a thoroughbred, and the other one was won by a horse that was out of a thoroughbred mare. So we still say that Olympics are different, but blood is never out of fashion. And I think for many reasons, I think we have to keep, as a breeder, I'm not going to stop using blood because, and it's not just because they're faster, it's because they stay sounder for longer generally. They come out fresher on the last day. But that's another discussion entirely. And I'm a bit of a breeding fanatic. So
no, that's very interesting stuff. Actually, what I'd like to do, if Rick agrees to it, is let's take a break and maybe come right back.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the blood. Alicia and I had a conversation about blood versus, what's happening now and how that changes our sport a bit.
Right. Are you willing to stick around? Do you have some time?
Yeah, I have time.
All right, perfect. Let's take a quick break. We're going to check in with our sponsors and we will be right back.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
I'm Gabby Ruane, and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments, but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants their horse more focused and rideable overall.
Rick Wallace here, bringing you Equibrew, a live probiotic that is geared to help your horse's gut health. I'm a true believer in this Equibrew, and it really makes a difference in all of my horses. Equibrew is safe, non-toxic, and clean sport compliant for FEI and racing events. Equibrew is an intact fermentation product with very high numbers of beneficial microbes. Order at equibrew.com or 850-879-2649.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are here with Padraig McCarthy. And Padraig, we had just been talking in the last segment about sort of the direction of the sport, and then we got rolling like we like to do here, and you got into breeding. And I'd like to just kind of keep going with that, because obviously it's something you know a lot about with you and Lucy. Yeah. So
if I can insert a little bit into what he was saying on the blood, I think he's absolutely on the right track. And I think what we have a problem with right now is having people thinking that, that every horse can end up going to badminton or Burley, which they can't. I mean, there's a special horse and an elite horse that can get there. But when we go to blood, Elisa, my daughter's a 5-star rider, and she had a really cool thoroughbred named Simply Priceless. And now we're getting into horses with less blood. He was full thoroughbred Australian. And in our conversation when we were at Bromont, and we kind of got heated with each other, and it's typical that we are usually on the same path. But I think some of the issues that we're having is we are trying to push a horse without as much blood into a box in which they don't belong. And that's where some of these accidents are occurring. I don't know the statistics on that, but I kind of feel like that they aren't in the shape or form of what they need to be doing cross country on those longer formats. And that's where we're getting into some trouble.
Yeah, I think it's 100% true. I mean, I saw 2 bad falls, one in badminton both horse and rider walked away fine, but there was one rotational fall there and one rotational fall in Poe. And both of those horses I saw at the beginning of the week, and I said, like, those horses really don't belong at a 5-star. They're too heavy, and they're not light enough. And both of them fell near the end of the course. But the problem is, and this goes back to the discussion we're having earlier about split level MERs or whatever, or split level 4-star, that and I kind of suppose it plays into what I was saying earlier about trying to make things safer, but not always having this effect that you want. So we create MERs that people have the requisite experience to go there. But I think that quite a lot, or quite often, people are replacing what's a requirement from your federation, an MER, replacing that instead of something where you're actually ready. And that's, we put these MERs there for people to try and make it safer, but I think people then think because I've completed the MER, I'm ready to go, and that's not the case, and I think that's where there's discussions in this country at the moment about having like 2 levels within 4-star to make the path at least a gradiated pathway to 5-star, that it's not just a case that you can do. We all know that there's 5-star or 4-stars that are easier than others. Bramham showed that up this year, that it was a real challenge, and people went there and they weren't prepared. And that doesn't mean that we can't discuss course design. That's not that at all. But I think there are too many easy 4-stars where we see people going through the levels without actually properly being challenged, just to get to a 5-star. And as I said at the beginning, it's not everybody. It shouldn't be for everybody. It shouldn't be for every horse, or potentially for every rider, unless they can go to the Bramhams of the world and go to the Chatsworth, the Blair, the Gatlin. But you see a lot of those 4-stars in this country now have very few entries. And I don't know if it's because people are shying away from the tough cross country. I don't know really what the reason is. But
qualifications, probably. You're probably right. I mean, shying away from getting their qualifications of what they need to do. I mean, we had that discussion in the United States. I know when I was on the board for the USEA, and John, I don't know if you remember these discussions, when we're producing what we send out, it's called in the omnibus for the list of events. I think there was a conversation about rating the cross country courses at the different venues that we have in the United States. And there was a hot discussion on that, to have like you were saying, an A plus, cross country course, at least giving some information to people so that they understood where they're going and what they're doing. But I think, again, to your point, some of these harder ones they shy away from because of the MERs. So we got to look at that too.
I think that's where we probably need to change the MERs, that you get and I think there has to be clarity, because sometimes, and it happens a lot in this country, you go to a place thinking that's a nice first 4-star, and you arrive there and the course is completely changed. Right. And it turns out that they put a combination in that wouldn't be out of place in a 5-star. So I think it's if we, I don't know all the answers, but I think if there is a system where event organizers can say, these are what's required for an entry level 4-star, and then we have events where we know that this is what we need in a top level 4-star, and riders must go through both of those qualifications to get to the next level.
John, what's your insight?
Do you think there's a way, and I talked with Lucinda a little bit about this, which is how you and I got going on this. Do you think there's a way that you could use the existing system that we have between national advanced competitions and FEI competitions, where you said, look, if you're going to go do a 4 short, that is going to be a half a step tougher than an advanced horse trial. And then that you sort of hold the organizers and the designers to that standard and say, you can't have an advanced track and put a 4 short name on it and have it out there, then have some different specs for it? Or do you think you need to do you think we need to differentiate it at the FEI level and say, this is a tough 4-star and this is a easier 4-star? Or maybe the answer is, as I'm thinking, sometimes I think when I talk, or maybe the answer is, do we need to implement 5 shorts?
That's something that's been muted before in this country, and I was against it. I don't think there's enough horses. I think if you increase that intensity over a shorter course, I think it's more, in my opinion at least, it feels like you're going to be more likely to break more horses. I'm not necessarily for that.
I
I
kind
haven't,
of
I haven't
that
really put a huge amount of thought into it, but I don't think there is the marketplace there for it. And I think, again, this comes back, this discussion about events and differentiating between an advanced and a 4-star, which are often very similar, at least. They might be differently numbered, but it comes back to the economics of the people running the event. And that's a big factor, because you can't expect event organizers to have two completely different courses for more or less the same level. So I don't know if that would work, because there is huge restrictions in England at the moment. The sport and the federation is in a little bit of a disarray, financially, at least, as far as I understand. So we end up with almost like corporate event organizers running many events, and you can go to a 4-star event, and on the intermediate track you'll be jumping some of the 4-star fences just because it's the economics of the bottom line. So any discussion about our sport is going to be influenced by so many different things, and that's why it's hard to strike a balance. So I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I think at least in England and America, I think the event riders want to keep the top level, the top. When you speak to friends in Germany, they don't really want badminton or burley. A lot of those riders that I speak to who are at our level, they don't, because in Germany it's already gone so far down the road in terms of horse welfare that it's in my opinion almost over the top. But then that's a completely different discussion. It's natural for us to ride horses and to jump fences with them. For other people, that's bordering on cruelty already. So
right, but I think it's not a totally different conversation. I think it's exactly where the conversation is, right? And I think that's the struggle that we're in right now, isn't it? Is if we want, and I'm an advocate of it, if we want to keep cross country being the most influential part of our sport, which I think that it has to stay that way, otherwise we're going to be going away. And I think we have to, at the same point, think about who we're trying to sell our sport to. And I've talked a little bit in the US with some of our associations about the fact that, I think anytime you have an organization, growth is a part of it, but I think you have to be very careful about how much you want to grow. It's like a little bit like, be careful what you ask for, right? Like we all event and we want to make a living. And I know this is a conversation we had too. But you want to make a living, but if you get more publicity, more of your name out there, more of your riding out there, then you have that opportunity to also be criticized and scrutinized about it. And I think as a sport, that's a big piece of this.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting thing that I had in conversation with somebody a few years ago, I can't even remember who it was, and discussing about the weightings between the different disciplines within eventing. So we have obviously the dressage, cross country, and show jumping. And at the moment, dressage is the only phase where there's, you can get continually better results and open the gap continually more. So it's not weighted, like there's an optimum time in cross country that's it. A clear round is the optimum. And they said, I can't remember which rider it was, suggested why not have an optimum dressage score below which it's just 0. So let's say that it's the best score is 27, that's the optimum score, and then it's marks over that count. It doesn't seem right that we have like that phase that you can. A couple of years ago, Christopher Burton won Burley with 4 down because he had such I think he was 5 marks in the lead from the dressage, and then he was one of the few clears in the cross country. But should we end up in that situation where you can win the toughest 5-star with 4 or 5 fences down
that's a really interesting idea,
and it just levels the playing field a little bit. I think there's something in that. I think I thought was a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never even heard that
because
idea.
Now
it's interesting.
The other thing that people, the way it is at the moment, they're unbelievably focused on dressage. They overtrain dressage at the detriment sometimes of training cross country. Their focus is on buying horses that move unbelievably well. So we see in recent years this tendency, this shift towards really almost dressage bred horses. Falula is a dressage bred horse. And then what happens ultimately, and why we end up a lot in these discussions, is that we have this shift towards dressage, the influence of dressage and jumping, and less so on the blood horses for cross country. And then the cross country day often creates bad pictures because maybe the horses aren't that suitable for it. And then the danger from that is that we bring the sport to a level where it matches the horses that we have, and then that's a spiral that can just get more towards dressage. And I think we got that shift originally when we took out the roads and tracks from eventing, and it just allowed for a different type of horse to come in.
Yeah,
and then
definitely
the breed of horse changes, and then the sport follows a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's something that if you're not careful, it can keep going in the wrong direction.
Now, I think it's a really interesting conversation. I'm really actually going to give that idea of the dressage a lot of thought, because I've never even contemplated something like that. That's very interesting, and I don't know. It's probably something to continue to think about. So everybody heard it here. Padraig McCarthy said that we need to eliminate dressage from eventing. Sounds like an Irishman to me. So well done.
The point that this person made to me, and they're probably going to ring me up in a half an hour or whenever the show broadcasts.
Right.
That was the point was, you don't get any extra points for being 10 seconds inside the time.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think it's a brilliant point, and I'm not saying it's the answer, but it's a different answer than what I've heard people come up with at this point. It's a new idea. So I always love new ideas. So listen, Padraig, we hit the end of our time here. I really, truly appreciate you coming on. I know Rick does as well.
Sure do.
Pleasure.
So thank you for taking the time, and good luck at Blenheim and Burley at the end of the season here. Good luck getting there. And yeah, we'll be cheering you on, and hopefully be able to have you back on again sometime very soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. We will be right back.
Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them.
Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com.
When it comes time to compete, I demand the best out of my horses and myself. That's why Elemental Fit Lab, the home of CrossFit antics, is my home gym. Coach Vilma and her team create a fun, welcoming environment for athletes of all levels. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned athlete, Elemental Fit Lab will guide you towards a stronger, healthier version of you. Mention the John and Rick Show to get 3 free personal training sessions with enrollment.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are being joined by the one and only Ariel Grald. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really excited. I'm honored to join you guys again.
I know, this is great. And your teeth look beautiful.
They're still fake. I'm almost back. We'll have permanent teeth in November. I have surgery to get them finally all sorted, but at least I've got a temporary fix.
And what we got going for our listeners and viewers, Ariel is the toughest woman in the world, because she had an accident several months ago where you got kicked in the face lunging, correct?
Yeah. By Simon, by the 5-star horse that's going to the World Championship.
To the World Championship. So yeah. I want to tell everybody, you didn't miss a beat. You had no teeth and you just kept going. So congratulations. You made the team. You did what you need to do. So, and when we say made the team, I guess the final team selection is after Great Meadows, and then they make the team selection with the individual. Is that right?
Yeah. They're going to wait till Great Meadow, because there's the 5 plus the traveling reserve, and they will decide who the individual is going to be after Great Meadow. Yeah.
Well, John, I know I've hogged it up, but I want Ariel, tell us how this feels, what you did. I mean, you've had a great run with this horse. So, barring the teeth, tell us how that's been going.
I know he owes me. We've partially forgiven him after a great go at badminton, and he owes me one more run, and all will be forgiven for knocking 11 of my teeth out. But no, I mean, it's just I've had a few really good years with the horse, and he's been very consistent, and feel like he's really come on this year to another level. And obviously, I put my application in for the World Championships, and you try to do the best that you can. And I think I imagine the selectors had a tough job this year. There were a lot of really great combinations to choose from, and they had a lot to look at and a lot to think about. So it definitely was a little bit stressful waiting for the announcement to come out. And again, I think they just picked a really, really good team. And I just was relieved at first, to be honest. You get that call, and Bobby Costello called me, and I've ridden with Bobby for a long time. He's been a coach and a mentor for me. So it was just really special to get that call from him. And I just really, really excited, very honored to be able to be selected for my first senior team championship and represent the US. And I look forward to putting in the best performance possible there. And it's, exciting and very motivating. And we've just, now it's, putting our nose down and getting all the work done over the next few weeks to be ready to deliver the best performance possible.
So Ariel, just take the viewers through this, because it is a pretty amazing feeling when you get that call. So I guess I want to know, one, you say it was a relief, but it's incredibly exciting. So obviously there's been so many people that have been a part of this journey from when you were a little girl all the way to now. Who was the first person you told?
I actually called my vet who helps Simon. She's a good friend of mine, and she's just a big believer in the horse. So I called her first. I did call, obviously, my owner, Annie, or Simon's owner, Annie Eldridge. She got the call, but I had to threaten her to keep quiet for a little while until the press release came out. So she was so excited. So it just, then called a couple of my good friends. One of my best friends was actually there in Ireland with me in 2014 when I picked Simon out and bought him. So let a couple close friends and people have been part of Simon and my journey all these years, and had to let them know.
Oh, that's awesome. And then what about the team? So the team is obviously it's Will Coleman, you, Boyd Martin, Lauren Nicholson, Tammy Smith, and then Philip right now is down as the reserve on Z. Have you guys all been in communication with each other?
Yep, we've all been chatting, and we actually have, we'll have some group calls, and we'll all be together at Great Meadow in a couple weeks. We're gonna get there, early in the week and have some time together. It'll be really fun, because actually minus Boyd, Will, Tammy, Lauren, and I were all at Aachen together last year. So we've sort of had that team camaraderie before, and obviously Boyd and Philip are excellent teammates. They know the drill. So it's, I feel like we all get along and sort of have the same ideas and same goals. And I'm excited to really have a strong team, because I think that that's really, really important, as we all, of course, need to put in the right competition rides, but having the team atmosphere and camaraderie and being there and supporting each other and being able to help, push each other for excellence, but also be there to support and encourage is really important. I think everybody named to that list is very capable and very committed to doing that. So I couldn't ask for better teammates. They've all been on multiple teams, and this is my first team championship. So I couldn't ask for better teammates who will be able to show me the ropes.
Yeah, and to that, one more thing, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Rick. The big thing that I think when I look at that team is, the question I have for you is, what's it like, and what do you think it's going to be like if things stay as they are right now? Having Philip Dutton as the traveling reserve, and knowing you're on the team, and there's Philip over on the sideline, and yeah, he's cheering you on, but let's be honest, that's big shoes to fill there with Philip sitting on the sideline. Do you think that's going to be pressure with him sitting over there, or do you think that's going to be reassuring?
I think it's going to be reassuring, because you have all of Philip's experience there and his support. obviously representing the US and being on a team is a huge deal, but I'll be honest, I put so much pressure on myself. When you go to badminton or you go to any of those big events, like the goal is always to put in, the best job you can possibly do. We're always trying to get dressage, always trying to jump clear. So there will be a lot of external pressure that haven't been exposed to before, but I guess I put a lot of pressure on myself as it is. So I'm just going to sort of try to keep that at bay. And I know the seriousness of the World Championships, and it's a big deal, but I've gotten good advice from Peter Wild and a couple other people that you just have to keep doing what you've always done. Don't change anything. Don't change your attitude. Don't change your preparation. Like, obviously you can keep tweaking things and improving, but don't let, sort of the pomp and, everything about, the fanfare of it being the World Championships change anything. Like, you have a formula that's gotten you to this point, and you've produced the horse to this point and produced the results that got us this spot. So just need to stay focused on putting all the pieces together. I know Simon really, really well. And I just need to stay focused on him and our team, and just sort of almost put blinders on a little bit and just stay focused on the task ahead of us of my performance, and then also supporting the team.
So John, to your point, I don't think Philip can take a spot on it. Somebody has been.
Oh, we lost him. I think what he was going to say was he didn't think he could take a spot on the team, but my understanding is he's the traveling reserve. Is that right, Ariel?
Yes, he's a traveling reserve. So if somebody's horse goes lame or something, he'll be ready to fill in. Yeah.
Right. It's basically, I think, up until the first jog. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think until that Wednesday you can sub in.
Right.
So,
yeah. So
so he'll come all the way.
Well, and I will say, so did you say you rode at Aachen with Philip there last time?
Philip wasn't there. So not Philip and Boyd, but Will, Tammy, Lauren, and I, and it was Sydney Elliott was the fifth. We were at Aachen. September
Yeah. So you have some exposure to those guys and being on a team with them. And I will just tell you, I was lucky enough. I was on a Nations Cup with Philip one time, and he's an awesome team member. So you guys are going to be amazing. I'm so excited for all of you, but we're really excited for you. Obviously, we're friends and you've been on the show before. So we were pretty proud of you for getting it done. And just do me a favor, between now and the World Championships, can you have somebody else lunge him?
I know. We don't lunge the horse, really. If we have to evaluate him, we ride him.
Okay, perfect. Just keep doing it that way. No more lunging. And
I know.
Just keep yourself in good shape. Keep your horse in good shape. Best of luck to you. We're so excited for you. I'm excited for the whole team. I think you guys are going to be amazing. I'm predicting a medal, and that's not putting pressure on you guys. That's just if you guys just all do what you normally do.
It's very attainable for sure. Yeah,
absolutely, it is. So listen, Ariel, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know time is sparse right now for you. So good luck. We'll be cheering you the whole way.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. And everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate you joining us for this week's show. Please make sure you guys, Ariel, you too, subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out on all the podcast players. Give us a review, comment on YouTube. That helps us out huge as well. So make sure you guys use all of our social media platforms. All right. And we will see you guys next time. We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.